What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to NFL Turf Talk with Dylan and Scotty. Of course, I am one half of your host here, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter at DylanJD98 and my faithful co-host to my right here on Turf Talk, Scotty. Check him out on Twitter at Scotty Drown as we stream to you guys on our Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook channels through DSM Media. I almost said live, Scotty, but we're not live this week. You guys will be catching this after the fact. Right here, 10 a.m. Sunday morning. And this week's going to be fun, man. So, but before we get into what we're covering today, guys, don't forget to head on over to @DSM_media on Twitter. Hit that follow button, and then hit that link tree in our bio. It'll take you to every social media platform we're on. We're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. We just eclipsed the 600 mark for subscribers on YouTube. So thank you to everybody who is already subscribed and already checking out the daily content here on DSM Media. So yeah, man, let's get right to it. We are breaking down the NFC West division this week, along with our top 10 edge rushers. And as always, going along with the divisions, we'll be doing our all division snake style fantasy draft. I believe Scotty's got the first pick this week. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes in this division. But yeah, let's get to it, man. What are your thoughts on the NFC West?
Before I went into it, I had this big thought on, how was I going to approach this division and kind of the thoughts just from last season where this was, probably the best division in football, arguably at least. This season, I think it's more of a conversation around who's number two. And, to me, it's no thought process for me. I think the Rams are the best team in this division. They not only are the Super Bowl champions, they
got better.
I think they've got more better. They made bigger improvements than the other teams in the division themselves. So, not only were they already the Super Bowl champions, they got incrementally better than by a wider margin than any other team this offseason. And arguably, obviously, the Seahawks got worse. Yeah. The Cardinals maybe didn't get worse. They didn't get better in my eyes. You add in Hollywood Brown. Sure, that's great. You lose Christian Kirk. You also have DeAndre Hopkins suspended. We'll go into all of that, but just going down the list, it's like who really got better out of those other teams. You got the 49ers, who we're going to get into, a little bit in this show. Well, actually a lot, but just, briefly looking at the division, it's the Rams division to lose. And it hasn't been like that for a while. And we'll get into all of it, but that's my initial look at the NFC West this season.
I agree. What was once at maybe the best division in all of football, arguably, and it's still going to be very competitive. And there's there's one great team and two good teams within this division. Now the Seahawks, obviously, post Russell Wilson era now, they're going to be, how do I say this politely, awful. Okay. So breaking down the Seahawks roster is going to be something else. But I agree with you. The Rams are not only the defending Super Bowl champions. On paper, they're better than they were when they won the Super Bowl. And then when it comes down to number 2 and 3, you have one organization who just today, we're recording this on Thursday, paid their franchise quarterback. Kyler Murray is now the second highest paid quarterback in all of the National Football League. We'll talk about that as well. But then you have the 49ers with their quarterback situation. Jimmy G's being shopped now. His agent's allowed to try to find him a new home. They moved on to the Trey Lance era, obviously moving up to select Trey Lance in last year's draft. Inside the top, was he the third overall pick last year?
Fourth,
yeah. So there's a lot of storylines, a lot of topics to get into within this division. But yeah, just looking at it, face value, it's the Rams division to take. And if they lose this division, I would have to imagine there was a big injury or multiple injuries throughout this roster that plagued them.
Yeah, I would agree. Just off that, just face value of the division, that's what I would guess as well. But we can get into some of the additions, subtractions for each team. We can talk a little bit. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Kyler Murray extension, Jimmy G, where he could end up. What the 49ers look like without Jimmy G, which is actually pretty interesting. But let's start with the Seahawks here. I think they had they had the biggest loss, especially in this division, but maybe in the entire NFL this offseason when they lost Russell Wilson. I shouldn't say lost. They traded him, willingly. In that return, you bring back Shelby Harris, defensive tackle. You bring back Drew Lock. We know what he is.
Noah Fant.
Noah Fant. That's probably the best return aside from the draft comp that they received. Josh Jones, a safety. Justin Coleman. They brought in Artie Burns. So they brought in a few guys, but nothing that's going to replace losing Russell Wilson. On top of Russell Wilson, you lose Bobby Wagner. Not only do you lose Bobby Wagner, he went to a team that you have to play twice a year, which we'll talk about in a little while here. So the Seahawks, man, how are you feeling? One, obviously Russell Wilson, you said it yourself. You start the next era of Seahawks football. I guess the only confusion for me is, Pete Carroll. I was about to call him Steve Carell. I always get that confused. Pete Carroll. Why is he still there? You know what I mean? If you're changing the guard, I guess, unless he's hanging in there for the rebuild, I don't know what the plan is there. DK Metcalf, we know the situation with him, star wide receiver. What are your thoughts on the Seahawks? Where do they go next? What is this season for them with Geno Smith at quarterback?
Well, my thought, we just mentioned how the best team in this division last year got better. The worst team in this division got worse. And that's not a pretty sight when it comes to the Seahawks team. It's going to be weird not seeing them led by Russell Wilson. Obviously, I know we had to see Geno Smith in there for quite a few weeks last year with his injury, but they don't have – I don't know how to put this politely, man. They don't have anything. Outside of their starting wide receivers in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Now, don't get me wrong. I actually like Noah Fant, but he's not going to be able to do anything with either of these two quarterbacks, whoever's going to get the starting nod there. And then defensively, like Jamal Adams has to be kicking. Like he thought he had it bad in New York a few years ago. It could be even worse now in Seattle, where at least now the Jets are looking towards the future already, and they're kind of getting there quicker. Shelby Harris is a piece. Quandre Diggs. Like I said, you have Jamal Adams, but outside of that, defensively, they have nothing. Rashad Penny, Chris Carson, cool. I know a lot of people like Rashad Penny, especially in the fantasy football world, but cool. They're in trouble. And we talked about the Falcons last week and how I think the Falcons are going to be really bad and how they probably won't win more than 5 games in the post-Matt Ryan era. There's no way Seattle wins more than 5 games in the post-Russell Wilson era. So the Seahawks were the worst team in 2021. They've gotten worse, and they're going to be the worst team in this division in 2022.
Yeah, and I thought you hit the nail on the head there with that team. You mentioned all the players that are worth mentioning. Just the Shelby Harris. It's like these are good players for a team that's competing. Like if a team that was a playoff team last year adds Shelby Harris, that's a nice addition. Quandre Diggs, I think we could probably agree that we would love this safety combo. Jamal Adams not the greatest in pass coverage, but Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams, that's solid. Outside of that, I mean, good luck. Jordan Brooks is a tackling machine, but there's just they've lost all of their,
Hey man, they have Sidney Jones.
they've lost all of their original foundation. I think Russell Wilson, that was probably the last piece of that. Russell Wilson and Bobby Wagner. You talk about that Legion of Doom from years ago. In that era, that's the end of it. And this is what's left. I know some Seahawks fans actually. And I don't know what to tell you, what to look forward to. The QB competition. Can Drew Lock beat out Geno Smith? Who's the better quarterback? I would
play Drew Lock personally. I don't know.
I would go Drew Lock. I think
Drew Lock. They're both bad. Drew Lock's the younger option. Has a stronger arm, probably. Yeah. They're both going to turn the ball over. We've seen Geno Smith for what feels like a decade now. Like that story's been written. Drew Lock's not going to win you anything, but I don't know. It's probably the way I would lean there in Seattle.
Just see if you have something in him. Like, see if you have anything, backup quarterback in him.
I can probably give them the Cliff Notes. You don't have anything in them, but it it's going to be a much more fun ride with him than Geno Smith.
I would agree with that. Yeah, we can leave it at that. DK, what's the end game for him? Like, how long does he put up with
He's
what's
got to
going
get the
on there?
hell out of town.
To get the
That's
hell
what
up
he
out
needs
of
to
there.
do. More so than anybody, Tyler Lockett needs to get the hell out of town. And that's the one that interests me because DK is going to come with a hefty price tag.
Yeah.
Teams should be calling now I know teams, I'm assuming we're calling the Seattle this past offseason in terms of DK, and I'm sure some teams checked in on Tyler Lockett, but what are they holding on to those two for?
I don't know. Have they given
it's not like DK wants to be there. DK?
Yeah, has he extended or
no?
I
don't think so.
I think so. That would be big deal. That would be big news.
Yeah, I feel like I remember that.
I don't know. What do you think as far as like return value for DK? Like, do you think it's like AJ Brown level? Like, where would you value? You know what I mean? We're gonna do top 10 wide receivers
probably
here soon, I'm sure, but like, where would you value DK and AJ Brown compared to each other?
I mean, I think AJ Brown's a better wide receiver, but the physical specimen that DK Metcalf is, his age, his speed, his size, his physicality, he's going to come with a nice price tag. DK, I don't think he's top 10 at this point, but I think you can definitely make the argument that he's top 15.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So maybe AJ Brown level, maybe a little. What did we trade for AJ Brown? A first and what?
First and a third.
Was it?
I think so. Yeah,
you might be right.
It was like the 18th pick of this past year's draft, which was Traylon Burks,
future third,
and then a future third. So
yeah, I mean,
and that was considered
right.
That was considered a good deal for the Eagles in my all the commentary that I've heard. Everybody saying that's a steal for the Eagles. So the big thing for AJ Brown was the extension, which same thing for DK. Whoever trades for him, you're gonna have to extend them. With
very similar boats.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it plays out. I just don't see the upside for Seattle keeping a guy that probably doesn't want to be there anymore. If he wanted to be there, he's still young. If they're going through a rebuild, he can be part of the solution. There's no way he wants to be there. So
it seems like bad timing.
Yeah. Tyler Lockett's another year older. He's not going to be here post rebuild. Send him off, ship him off, give him a chance to go win again.
Yeah.
That's really it. Poor Noah Fant.
Yeah, man. He's a nice, bright young tight end, but hopefully they get a quarterback in there ASAP so they can use those weapons. But
I gotta say though, man, we got to move on.
I was gonna. This is the longest long that we will ever spend on the Seahawks all season.
The goddamn Seattle Seahawks.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. Let's get to the Rams, where we saw the Seahawks counterpart Bobby Wagner head to. So obviously the Rams brought in Bobby Wagner. Not only Bobby Wagner, they bring in Allen Robinson. OBJ's still up in the air. He's a free agent. He's coming off the torn ACL. All indications is that he would like to be back with the Rams, who he won the Super Bowl with, obviously, and they would like to have him back. There's no urgency there. He's injured. I think he'll ultimately end up signing back there on all reality. They lose, they lose Robert Woods. They lose Von Miller. They also lost Darius Williams, who we talked about, I believe it was last week with the Jags. I believe they picked him up as a starting corner, which he actually played really well for the Rams, which I'm sure you know. They lost Johnny Hecker, the really good, I believe he's a punter.
Yeah.
Sony Michel, and then Austin Corbett, who was a right guard for him. But all in all, I mean, these guys, yes, Robert Woods, he was a leader there. Von Miller, he was a leader there. Darius Williams, he was a nice, bright young player. They still have everything in place. These are marginal pieces that they lost. They picked up 2 incremental pieces in Allen Robinson, Bobby Wagner. They also picked up cornerback Troy Hill as well to fill in Darius Williams' spot. So thoughts on the Rams, if they're able to bring back OBJ as well on top of all this. How do you feel about the Rams going into this season and their situation as far as adding Bobby Wagner and Allen Robinson to the mix?
I think you hit the nail right on the head, which is, yes, they lost 2 important pieces to a successful regular season and a postseason run within Robert Woods and then within Von Miller, who they traded for, throughout later in last season.
Yeah.
But they improved both of those positions.
Yeah.
Like, Allen Robinson is a step up from Robert Woods.
Yeah.
Bobby Wagner, he's going to play a different linebacking role than Von Miller is. Von Miller was a more edge rusher, kind of get after the quarterback kind of guy. Bobby Wagner is probably going to be more of an inside middle linebacker, commanding the field a little more in coverage, probably more in run stopping. But Bobby Wagner is a better linebacker than Von Miller. Yeah. I like the Troy Hill addition as well. Like I said, there's nothing you can say bad about this roster. If OBJ is going to come back, obviously it cannot hurt them. Right. But if it's from his perspective, I don't know what I would do because sure, if you want to win again, probably a nice spot to go. You're out in LA, you're going to compete for a Super Bowl again. But when like I said, that you brought in Allen Robinson, you already have a top 2 wide receiver in Cooper Kupp. Van Jefferson's their slot guy.
Yeah.
Where does OBJ fit into the mix unless they're throwing 5 wide out there over and over again? So if he wants playing time, he needs to move. If he just wants to kind of coast, win, get a ball here and there, I'd stay in LA.
Yeah. That's ultimately up to him. I don't think at this point OBJ is going to be criticized for whatever he does. You know what I mean? No. I think last season with the Rams coming in, adding to their success, he proved that he can be a team guy. So I'm not sure there's much left for OBJ to prove. I mean, the only thing, he's not going to get a big contract, obviously, because he's been injured so often lately. But
especially in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see what the road, where the road takes OBJ. It is interesting to think about. And I like your point there, especially about Bobby Wagner being a better linebacker specifically. Sure. He gives up a little bit on the edge. He's not an edge rusher, right? He's literally your prototypical linebacker. But you have Aaron Donald down there running that line.
You have Leonard Floyd there too.
You have Leonard Floyd still there on the edge as well. You got some guys down there, and they breed. They can teach. They can pass on the tips and tricks. I'm sure they got something brewing there with those young guys. But Bobby Wagner helps their run defense, and I think that's the biggest thing. That was probably their biggest weakness last year. Right. Is their rush defense, and he's protecting that middle better than nobody else in the NFL. So, excuse me, nobody better in the rest of the NFL. Right. So, yeah, I like what the Rams did there. Let's go Cardinals next. I want to say the 49ers for last because I feel like there's a lot there. Cardinals, obviously, you mentioned it, the max extension for Kyler Murray, making him, I think, the second highest paid annually quarterback in the league right now. $46 million a year, $160 million guaranteed. We heard all the rumors throughout the offseason. It was almost it's really weird how it played out of them just giving him a boatload of money. You talk about that. You add in Hollywood Brown. You lose Christian Kirk, as we mentioned, which Christian Kirk, it is what it is, man. He got overpaid. Right. I wouldn't have paid that for him either. So you get Hollywood Brown, which I don't know about you. I would consider it an upgrade, at least potential-wise, maybe. They're very similar players. Chandler Jones, they also lost him. That's a big loss off the edge. Jordan Phillips, defensive tackle. Chase Edmonds, running back. They had a nice duo there with James Conner last year. They lose Chase Edmonds. They had Darrell Williams from the Chiefs, which that's a solid pickup, I would say. Thoughts on the Cardinals, man? Where are they at right now? You got D-Hop suspended the first 6 games. He's hoping to lessen it up, but it doesn't look like it. How are you feeling about the Cardinals, man? It's hard for me to read these guys.
I think the Cardinals are still a good team. They're going to be competing probably for a wild card spot. But they didn't, in terms of from last year to now heading into 2022, they haven't done anything. They haven't done much. Like you said, their biggest acquisition was the trade for Hollywood Brown. Which, I would say he's an upgrade over Christian Kirk, and the way he can take top off of a defense across from D-Hop. Problem is D-Hop suspended the first 6 games.
Right.
You mentioned James Conner. You kind of lost. I know they brought in Darrell Williams, but James Conner, to me, he's not a 3-down back. He's not a lead back probably at this point. I know he scores a lot.
Touchdown machine, but he's not a lead back.
He scores a lot inside the 10, inside the 5, but he is what he is at this point. And then defensively, they have some pieces. Like, don't get me wrong, J.J. Watt kind of is what he is at this point. Zaven Collins, I love Isaiah Simmons. Marcus Golden's a nice piece. Budda Baker. But they're just what they were last year to me, kind of. So I think they're a good team. I think they'll finish second in their division. I think they'll fight for a wild card spot, but they're nothing, I don't think they're going to be challenging the LA Rams for this division.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so I guess that's a good caveat into the 49ers, because that's something that I couldn't get over in my head, is like, who do I think is better out of the 49ers and the Cardinals? I think the 49ers surrounding parts, I think it's way better than the Cardinals, to be honest. But the quarterback, man, Trey Lance, I mean, I get it. He's your top prospect. They kind of have to go this route with Jimmy G and move him. Jimmy G's in there. They're probably my bona fide number 2 team. And I wouldn't put them over the Rams. I'll be transparent here. But it would at least be a combo. They beat them twice last year. Well, like, we would at least talk about it. But
they beat them twice last year and walked in the Lambeau in January and beat the MVP of the league. Like, their defense is legit. Like, I love the Rams defense. The 49ers defense is better. Not by a lot, but it's probably all around better. I really like Elijah Mitchell. Debo, who knows what happens with his contract situation, but he's still there. Brandon Ayuk. George Kittle is a top 2, top 3 tight end. They still use Kyle Juszczyk. Somehow, some way, there's a fullback in the NFL still. They have a very good offensive line. And the way Kyle Shanahan conducts this offense, to me, like, the way he likes to run the football, almost it made too much sense with Jimmy G. But I guess the dynamic of Trey Lance being a dual threat will really help that. But to bring it together with the Cardinals, yes, the 49ers all-around team is better than the Cardinals. Their defense is light years ahead of the Cardinals defense. Skill position players, it's interesting. D-Hop's on the field.
D-Hop in, it makes it
right. It's interesting, but the disparity between the quarterbacks, or the unknown of the one side, is very concerning when it comes to the 49ers. That's why I, kind of said I think that the Cardinals will be number 2 in this division, because I don't know what Trey Lance is going to bring to the table yet. But I know he's got a big arm. I know he's a big kid. I know he's athletic and can be a dual threat. So if it pans out, Niners are scary.
Yeah.
I can't say that I think or know it's going to pan out yet.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting caveat with this division, is that if Trey Lance is good, like, if he's good, he's like already more dynamic than Jimmy G. But if he is a good player, a good football player, a good quarterback,
they're competing with LA then.
They're competing with LA, and that's what's crazy, because he brings that running factor. If he could just make the throws, and, you talked about Kyle Shanahan, his offense, it makes it really easy for the quarterback, man. And, running the ball heavily, that's going to be in Trey Lance's favor. He likes to use his legs. So it's going to be interesting to see, 1, if Trey Lance is actually good. 2, maybe he doesn't start good. Maybe he has to work his way. How fast can he pick it up and get better throughout the season? But it is just interesting, because the 49ers could certainly win now with Jimmy G. I get the upside with Trey Lance and his dynamic ability. They're just in such a pickle of a situation, man, between a rock and a hard place, because you have to move forward with your draft pick. You spent a top 5 pick on that man. But Jimmy G is there. He's a good quarterback. Good. Right? Like average. Yeah.
Perfect game manager. We had a 49ers beat reporter come on last year to talk Eagles 49ers with us, and I thought he was awesome. But I remember we asked him kind of about the Trey Lance situation and Jimmy G, and I think he was more of a Jimmy G guy than most. But he really spoke about how he is a game manager.
Yeah.
So Trey Lance can probably bring a different dynamic.
He can win. Trey Lance can win you a game, but he's going to lose you some games. He's a rookie, basically, in this, even in his second
The question is also, again, if this defense can kind of repeat how good it was last year, how many games does it keep them in?
Yeah.
And if he can keep them in games with his big playability and Debo and George Kittle and Elijah Mitchell, I know we started off the show saying that it's the Rams division, and it is, but like you said, he is the biggest question. He might be the biggest question mark in all of the NFL, for a team
Yeah.
on the edge. Because like you said, if he is good, not okay, right? Not Jalen Hurts last year. If he's good, same thing with the Eagles. If Jalen Hurts is good,
Yeah.
both of these teams can contend for much more than just a playoff spot.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I think that's the perfect way to phrase it. Jalen Hurts, that's exactly what I was thinking in my head as you were running through that, is that if he is just as good as Jalen Hurts was last year, I think you'll see a similar result, which is the 49ers, barely making the playoffs, not winning a game, but they're going to play teams tough as hell, and they're going to be one of the best rushing football teams in the NFL. So that's, I guess that's the bright side for 49ers fans when you look at Trey Lance and moving forward is that question mark. It's just that, and he could be better than what Jimmy G could provide. I guess the question to you to end the segment here, and we can kind of, gravitate towards actual division talk here.
Yeah.
Where does Jimmy G, where do you think where's a good landing spot for him? I thought Atlanta,
oh man,
would they trade him you wouldn't trade him to Seattle, right? Like, and let me ask you this as a caveat to that. If you were, I don't think they would. If Seattle was able to obtain a Jimmy G, does that put them back in the talk of maybe not winning the division, obviously, but, back in the midst of the Cardinals and the 49ers per se?
No, it doesn't.
No. Still better. The other team's still better. I tend to agree.
The Falcons are definitely there. I want to give an underwhelming one first because I still don't think they're there yet, but we broke this team down in their division down already. And we mentioned how they need help defensively, but they have guys offensively. Detroit.
Interesting.
Because I'm just not a Jared Goff guy.
Interesting.
That's not to help them win. I just mean they would be better than they are.
Yeah.
To help them win. Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I know they're not going to go down that road. They already made the move for Mitch. They think Mitch can save them. They drafted Kenny Pickett.
I thought Pittsburgh was where you were going first.
The Saints?
If they're, I know a lot of people are in love with Jameis Winston. Don't ask me why, but yeah,
I'd probably stop my list there. Any other team is just not a good team. They're not on the cusp. Like the Lions was just one where they've got some fun pieces offensively, and they need someone that can get on the ball and not turn the ball over. And I think Jimmy G could do that. And they're competitive. Like they play competitively. So
yeah,
but like Pittsburgh's a contender. I think if they had a guy like that, the Saints I think are definitely a contender if they have a serviceable quarterback.
The New York Giants.
No.
What if they got in on the Jimmy G stakes, man? That would be funny. No, I think you hit a few there, and obviously you have those bottom feeders without quarterbacks, but it's like you said, what's the point of like making that move if you're not like trying to win right now? So you don't just bring in a quarterback like Jimmy G to like get you through a rebuild type thing. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and just move on to the actual divisions. Well, I know I missed on the 49ers what they actually have added. Charvarius Ward, they added him at corner. They did lose Jaquiski Tart, who we know is a part of the Eagles now. Kawan Williams, is he their biggest loss? Alex Mack is a huge loss. He retired, their center, so that's a huge loss. Laken Tomlinson. So they did lose Tom Compton and Laken Tomlinson and Alex Mack. So they lost 3 of their starting linemen on offense. And then Kawan Williams is that nickel cornerback that they lost. He's a stud. Raheem Mostert also went to the Dolphins, so they lost the running back. Elijah Mitchell's solid, though.
Yeah.
Charvarius Ward, Ray McLeod, wide receiver, kick returner from Pittsburgh. Hassan Ridgeway they added as well on the defensive end. And then a couple rookies, an edge rusher and Drake Jackson, running back and Ty Davis-Price, and Danny Gray, a wide receiver who they also picked up in the draft. So nothing huge as far as additions there, but they did have quite a few losses. So now I guess we're going to get into the actual ratings of their offense. Defense. We're finally here. It's division's jam-packed, but we knew this was coming.
Yeah, man.
Next week will be even crazier, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
So last week we started on the offensive side of the ball, so I guess we'll start on the defensive side of the ball this week and kind of work over to the more interesting side, I would say. But I'll start with run defense here. At number 4, I have the Seattle Seahawks. You're going to notice a common trend. The Seahawks are going to finish in last for every category. So I have the Seahawks at 4. They lack what I call talent. They lack outside of Shelby Harris. They have nothing in their front 7 that I like. I don't think they're going to be able to stop a nosebleed this year on the ground. So I have the Seahawks at 4. At number 3, I have the Arizona Cardinals. Now, like I said earlier, I kind of like the Cardinals front 7 a little bit. I like their linebackers. I love Isaiah Simmons, Zaven Collins, J.J. Watt. Like I said, he is what he is now, but he's still there. He's still J.J. Watt. This is kind of by default because of who the top 2 are, but the Cardinals at number 3. At number 2, now this is where things get interesting, man, because I have one team with a slight edge, but the addition of Bobby Wagner makes this a lot closer than I originally had it. I'm still going to stick with Rams 2. Now, I know that sounds crazy when you talk about Leonard Floyd and Aaron Donald and Bobby Wagner and everybody they have over there in LA. But this front 7 of the 49ers is something different. When you talk about D Ford, Kinlaw, Armstead, Nick Bosa, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner's an absolute freak. Their front 7 is absolutely loaded. It's very difficult to run the ball against them. So even though it's very difficult to run the ball against the Rams, I do have the 49ers with the edge. Seahawks 4, Cardinals 3, Rams 2, Niners 1 when it comes to rush defense.
yeah, I have the same exact. I had to reconfirm. I have the same exact rankings. So, Seahawks number 4, easy. I like Jordan Brooks, Shelby Harris, like you said. Nothing really there. They're young and they're going to be rebuilding. Cardinals, yeah, I think they're another young team. I like some of the pieces they have in there, but just not up to these other what we would look at as top 10 defenses in reality. Rams and 49ers are kind of in their own league here, but Rams number 2, as you mentioned, it's nothing against the Rams. They're going to have a top rushing defense as well as a top 10, overall defense. But like you said, with the 49ers, there's a system, there's a culture in there that they operate by. And while the 49ers may not be the greatest passing defense, they're going to punch you in the mouth in the running game, and they're going to force you to beat them with the pass. And they're going to get pressure on your quarterback. So I'm going with the 49ers at number 1 for rush defense. Same exact rankings as you.
Yeah, man. I think most people would agree with those rankings, right? Like I think 3 and 4 are pretty obvious, and you can argue 1 and 2. But the Niners front 7 and their run defense is so stellar. If it's not the best in all the National Football League, it's probably top 3.
Yeah.
So it's right up there, and the Rams aren't far behind now. In terms of passing defense, again, I have the Seahawks at number 4. Now I do like their safeties in terms of Jamal Adams if he can stay healthy and Quandre Diggs. Outside of that, you're good. So that's that with the Seahawks. Not much to say about them. At number 3, I have the Arizona Cardinals for same reasons. You have Budda Baker. Byron Murphy Jr. is a piece. Not in love with anything else they have in their secondary. And then it's like I said, it's just because of who the top 2 teams are in this division. At number 2, I do have the San Francisco 49ers. Just like I gave the Niners an edge with the rush defense, I'll give the Rams a little bit of an edge with the pass defense here. Travarius Ward and Jimmy Ward, I like in the Niners secondary. But when you come over to the Rams secondary, you're talking about one of the top corners in the game in Jalen Ramsey. Jordan Fuller is a nice safety. And then I do like the Troy Hill signing a lot. So I had the Rams 1, Niners 2, Cardinals 3, Seahawks 4 in terms of pass defense.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got the same exact rankings as well. Again here, so Seahawks last. We don't need to talk too much about the Seahawks. They got a nice safety combo. That's about it. They're operating with Sidney Jones, so that's a nice little homecoming story for him. Go back to Seattle, Washington. Cardinals number 3. Once again, they're just I don't know. The secondary is solid. I love Budda Baker, as you mentioned, Jalen Thompson. The safety combo is good. Just I don't know, not the experience that I want to see in my secondary overall. And I like what they got going on in their front seven, but overall, Cardinals number 3 for me. These other two teams are on a different playing field. 49ers number 2 really just comes from their secondary. That's why they're number 2. If they had anybody in the secondary that I thought was like, I don't want to say that none of them are game changers because they got a
but
guy.
like if they added Tyrann Mathieu this offseason instead of
there you go. Tyrann Mathieu, a nice safety. Jimmy Ward is solid. Emmanuel Mosley was up and down last year. Charvarius Ward's solid from the Chiefs. So they added a nice corner. But you look at the Rams, they got it going on in their pass rush. In the front seven. They also got it going on in the secondary with Taylor Rapp and Jalen Ramsey, Troy Hill. But that pass rush with the 49ers, man, while the secondary is not very
so I was going to ask you that
pass rush is lethal.
So let me ask you, before we move on to the offense, what defense do you put where? Well, what's the better overall defense? I have my answer, but I'm curious what you think.
I don't know. It's tough. Like, overall, I think the 49ers have the more talented defense.
Me
and
too.
I think as a unit. But as soon as I started thinking that, I'm thinking about the positions that their offense could put them in times versus the Rams, where the Rams defense is just, they should always be playing with, a benefit of the doubt when you got an offense on the other side like that. So I don't know. I just feel like the 49ers, their defense is going to have to win them some games this year. And hopefully they can do that. They definitely played at that level last year. But yeah, overall, I would go with the 49ers defense over the Rams right now. They could.
I agree.
It's close. It's not like some runaway thing, obviously, with our rankings here. It is close.
I agree. I think they have overall more defense, not by a lot, but a little bit more all across the table. And when I just think about shut down defense, there's nights or days where I think you can catch LA on a bad day. And like Tom Brady did it in the, I know it's Tom Brady, but the Bucs that was a high scoring game, in the playoffs last year. I think it's very difficult to expose the 49ers defense. I think you can expose them in the secondary slightly, but I think that's extremely difficult to do with that pass rush. You cannot run the ball on them for the most part. So
you look at that NFC Championship game with the Rams and 49ers, and if Jaquiski Tartt catches that interception, Rams might not win the Super Bowl. It's crazy.
Exactly, man. Exactly. I didn't even think about
crazy.
That. So I've stolen your list twice on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm going to let you start on the offensive side of the ball. So it's not just you saying, yeah, I had the same one. Let's see if I had the same one.
I got you. So I'll start with rush offense. And coming in at 4, guess who? The Seahawks. They got some good running backs. I mean, Rashad Penny, Chris Carson's always injured, but Rashad Penny's injured quite often as well. Kenneth Walker, though, that's a solid rookie running back. That can be a nice transitional piece into their rebuild. But nonetheless, the offensive line isn't something to work with. The quarterback's going to drag that offensive down as well. So I see lots of struggles in the air for their rushing offense. Number 3, this one is interesting. The rushing offense conversation is interesting in general. I have the Rams number 3. I love Cam Akers. I think he's a really good back. Darrell Henderson's a really good back. They're going to be able to, run in this offense because look at the weapons they have on the outside. There's no way you can pack the box against them. But overall, they don't use the run as enough for me to move them any higher.
Yeah.
The rest of these other teams should really focus on running the football in order to gather success. Number 2, I have the Cardinals. Strictly, I like James Conner. You mentioned it. He's not a full 4-down back. He's not a 3-down back, I should say. Darrell Williams, that's a nice addition, but it's really about Kyler Murray, the dynamic ability that he brings to the running game. I do think you got the money. It's time to earn that contract. You might have to put that body on the line a little bit more often now. The Cardinals may think otherwise, though. They may think the complete opposite. So I got the Cardinals number 2 there, just with their quarterback's ability to scramble and run. And then 49ers, I think that's going to be the epitome of their attack. It's already a good rushing offense. You add Trey Lance to the mix. He's going to run the football as well, and that makes it even more dynamic.
We have a difference. we have a difference. So we're going to disagree here slightly. So I have the Seahawks at 4. Surprise. Like you said, Rashad Penny's nice. Chris Carson always injured, but Chris Carson's there. Teams can literally just load up, and they don't have a good offensive line. They haven't had a good offensive line in 5 years in front of Russell Wilson. What makes you think they're going to bolster the offensive line in front of Geno Smith or freaking Drew Lock? So Seahawks are number 4. At number 3, I have the Arizona Cardinals. I do think it's going to take Kyler Murray's obviously his dual threat ability really helps them out there. He has the ability to rush for 500-600 yards a season himself. But I don't know, something just about James Conner rubs me the wrong way. This is a weird thing I have, but Darrell Williams, like I said, cool. But it's going to be James Conner as the main back, and I just don't see it inside the 20s. And I don't know how they're going to be able to move the ball down the field in their rushing attack with strictly James Conner. So that I have the Cardinals at number 3. I have the Rams at number 2. I get it. They're probably a little more pass heavy than the Cardinals, but the Cam Akers comeback in the postseason last year, he's going to be healthy now. And Darrell Henderson, who really carried the load for them last season. I love the two of them together, 2 different styles of running backs. Cam Akers, more, he's the starting running back, but he's more that change of pace, speedy, shifty kind of running back. Darrell Henderson's kind of more getting the gaps, lower his shoulder, more physical kind of running back. And when I just think about McVay and this offense, they did a lot with Jared Goff, and they're going to do it a lot again with Stafford and these wide receivers. A large part of their offense comes with moving the line of scrimmage and play action. And I think they're going to set the run up to open up the pass. That's why they're so scary offensively. And like you said, at number 1, which was already the best rushing offense in this division, I know they lost Raheem Mostert, but Elijah Mitchell deserves to be the number 1 back in San Fran. And then the now ability of Trey Lance to maybe run an RPO style of offense with Kyle Shanahan, his ability to take off. So, and that's the main thing to me as well. Kyle Shanahan knows how to run the football. Yeah. His scheme, watching San Fran run the football, they'll line up under center, they'll line up in the eye with a fullback, and they'll run it down your throat. They'll tell you, here's what's coming, you can't stop it, and then you will not stop it.
Yep.
So I really like the Niners there. So, yeah, so 1 and 4 the same. I have Rams 2, you have Cards 2.
I like it.
Don't ask me why I don't like James Conner. Don't know why.
It's all good. I get it. He's not your prototypical 3-down back. He's a touchdown red zone guy. So I definitely get it. Looking at the passing offense, I'll start from the top with this one because I think it's a little bit easier that way. Number 1, Rams. Obviously, you have Matthew Stafford. You have Cooper Kupp, the Triple Crown receiving champion of all time, Cooper Kupp. You add Allen Robinson to the mix. You still got Higbee. You got Cam Akers. You got all these guys. Van Jefferson. God forbid they add OBJ halfway through the season. They just got a plethora of weapons. We know the system McVay's working with, and I expect them to come out with even more kinks and dynamic play abilities that they're going to be able to use Allen Robinson for. Van Jefferson will come into his own a bit. Number 2, I got the Cardinals simply because I think they have the second best quarterback in the division in Kyler Murray. And, they do have some weapons. Obviously, you have Zach Ertz still out there. You added Hollywood Brown. You'll get DeAndre Hopkins back throughout, the latter half of the season. Rondale Moore was a nice young wide receiver. Andy Isabella. My only worry with the wide receiving core for the Cardinals, especially early on in the season, they seem like they're all built the same. Quick, fast, short. And it's like, who's going to go up and grab the ball for you aside from Zach Ertz? Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins will cure that once he comes back. But that's 6 games. That's a long 6 games. Number 3, 49ers, simply because I think Trey Lance, whether it's Trey Lance or Jimmy G, I think both of them are better than Drew Lock and Geno Smith. As much as I like the Seahawks wide receivers, they have nobody to get them the ball. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. At the very least, I would imagine 49ers, they should be able to run up some easy throws for Trey Lance to get guys like George Kittle, Deebo Samuel involved, Brandon Ayuk. These guys can do a lot after the catch, and I think they'll be more dynamic in that way. The Seahawks are just going to it's going to be a miserable ride for them with that quarterback situation.
Yeah, so let me pick up right there. The Seahawks are number 4. They have the wide receivers. I like their tight end, but they have no quarterback.
Yep.
They have 2. Actually, I'm sorry, they have 2 quarterbacks, but they have no quarterback.
If you have 2, you have none.
Right, but in this case, both 2 are bad. Like, this isn't Trey Lance and Jimmy G, and it's who do we play? This is both suck. So,
Yeah, no.
Seahawks number 4. At number 3, I do have the 49ers simply for the unknown. I don't know what Trey Lance is. They brought him in weird packages randomly inside the 20s, and he would run the football most of the time. Even though I think he threw an 80-yard touchdown last year.
I think he did,
Very odd season in his rookie debut, not starting. So that's why he's number 3, because I just don't know what to think, but I know he's better than Geno Smith or Drew Lock. Yeah. At number 2, I do have the second best quarterback, the second highest paid quarterback in the league, the Cardinals and Kyler Murray. Losing DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 games crushes them, and I think it could really hurt them in the win-loss column early on in the season, but he is the second best quarterback, and when D-Hop does come back, he has a top 3 wide receiver at his disposal. And then Hollywood Brown then becomes number 2. That could get really fun once D-Hop comes back. Yeah. And then number 1, you have a top 10 quarterback, probably top 8 quarterback in Matthew Stafford, former Super Bowl winning champion Matthew Stafford last year. You have a top 2 wide receiver in Cooper Kupp. You bring in Allen Robinson, who's been starving for a quarterback that can actually deliver him the football the past couple of seasons. You have Van Jefferson, you have Tyler Higbee, and you have Sean McVay as your play caller. You have a good offensive line. The Rams passing game is going to be the total package this year. They are number 1, and to me, it's not that close. If D-Hop was playing the first 6 games, it's not close. The Rams by a mile in the passing department.
Yeah, I agree.
So to wrap up breaking down the NFC West before we get to our draft, because here we are at the 48-minute mark. Why wouldn't we be, Scotty? At number 4, I wonder who I have here. Hold on. What does that say? Oh, the Seahawks at number 4. They are going to be horrible to watch. Like, this is a team, Scott, I don't say this often, especially when it's the middle of the summer and I want to watch preseason football because I just want to watch football so badly. This is a team that if they were the only game on and it was against a mediocre to another bad team, I won't watch. I'll flip back and forth and check in on the game. Like, they're that bad. They're not going to be exciting. They're not going to be enjoyable to watch. There's no part of that roster that I'm like, you know what? I want to check him out or want to check this out. Nothing impresses me. I have my rank here. But as we're discussing, I'm going to go Cardinals 3. I had the 49ers 3 on paper. I'm talking myself into the 49ers defense, their rushing attack, and if Trey Lance is just serviceable, I just think they're going to be a double-digit win team, and the loss of DeAndre Hopkins for the first third of the season is going to hurt the Cardinals, I think. So, yeah, I'm going to go Cardinals 3, 49ers 2, and then, of course, your reigning Super Bowl champs, the LA Rams, at number 1. But again, it'll be a fun division again. But I think I just think it's the Rams division to lose still.
Yeah. I just think you get a second year of Matthew Stafford with the Rams too, on top of everything. And as long as they just don't have the Super Bowl hangover, they should be all right. Number 4, Seahawks. Yeah, I don't see them. I have them at 4 wins on the season. We can kind of leave that at that. 49ers and Cardinals. I'm with you. I think it's a toss-up. You know, there's a lot that factors in here. Trey Lance upside, DeAndre Hopkins, suspension, the new contract for Kyler Murray, the hype behind that, the responsibility that comes behind that. Right now, just I went through the schedules. 49ers, I have at 8-9, roughly. Cardinals, I have at 9-8. So one game between the two, and it could be a game between, them matched up head to head. And then, of course, I have the Rams around 11 or 12 wins. They should command the division. But the caveat of the division, I think, has to be Trey Lance. Like you said, the biggest question mark in the NFL. If he is good, they can be the best team in the division. That's just a big ass if. So that's kind of where I'll leave it. I have them in third right now. I definitely agree with you. Outside of the quarterback question mark, second best team in the entire division. We gotta wait and see, but I'm with you.
It's going to be a fun one. It's probably the best division in the NFC. It's not the South. It's not as long. I love the East, but it's not the East. Yeah, it's the best division in the NFC, and it's probably the second best division in all the NFL outside of the loaded AFC West, which we'll be talking about probably next week, most likely live here on BSN Media.
Who would you say? Because I guess the only other one I'm thinking of is the AFC North, who I think might be better than the NFC West, just because I'm thinking.
You're right. You're right.
The Browns versus the Seahawks or the Steelers versus the Seahawks, and I'm like,
you're
take
right
both of them over the Seahawks.
AFC West, AFC
the Seahawks
North,
are the
NFC West.
They're the detractor in this division,
right,
but
100%. They might be the worst team in all of the National Football League this year. Like you can make the argument.
Them and the Texans or some shit like that.
I know. What do we want to do next? So my question here is, do we want to go our all-division draft first, following the breakdown, and then wrap it up with edge rushers? Or do we want to give our top 10 edge rushers and finish up with the draft? Because I don't know how long this draft's going to take.
Gotcha.
Let's go edge rushers.
All right. Yeah, let's just do it.
All right, here we go. We'll go 10 through 6. At number 10, this is tough. The bottom 7 through 10, 8 through 10 is very difficult. There's a lot of guys that aren't. Everyone's going to say, "Where's this person? Where's that person?" As everybody does with top 10 list. The problem is, tell me who you're replacing. That's fine. At number 10, I have Cam Jordan. He had 12.5 sacks last year. One of the better defenses in the league in the NFC on the Saints. He's a monster coming off the edge. So he's right around that 10-11 mark, but I'm going to give him the edge because he was very productive on a very good defense last year. At number 9, maybe a little biased in me, but I do have Hassan Reddick. He had 11 sacks last season. And in the last 3 seasons, only Aaron Donald and I'm forgetting the other person, might be Nick Bosa or TJ Watt, have had more sacks than him. He's number 3 in sacks with like 24 or whatever in the last 2 or 3 seasons, or 2 seasons, I should say.
Yeah.
So Hassan Reddick at number 9. At number 8, this pains me to say, Micah Parsons. 13 sacks last year. He's a linebacker, but he comes off the edge a ton for Dallas. The kid, I don't take back the Devontae Smith pick ever for the Eagles. I would not redraft it, but he's a monster. So I wouldn't mind having Micah Parsons. At number 7, someone that's not going to show up in your sack cat totals last year, but another young star who's a monster coming off the edge in our division is Chase Young. People forget, I think just 1 year removed from his rookie year because he was injured, how dominant he is on the line of scrimmage. He's a problem, dude. Like he's one of the few guys in this league that can single-handedly, in my opinion, take over a game and just have so many key moments down the stretch of a game that affect the outcome of the game. Not a lot of guys defensively can do that. I think he has it in him. I think he's a star. And at number 6, I could even drop this guy lower and move Parsons or Young up. I'm just going straight off of the fact that I think he's going to have a bounce back year, especially because of who his counterpart is. Khalil Mack. I think a change of scenery from the bad Chicago Bears, or the Oakland Raiders, being moved from the Bears. I think him in LA now, across from Joey Bosa, who's going to be later on my list. He had 4 sacks last year. The year before that, he had 15. So I don't think, Father Time just snatched him up this past season. I think Khalil Mack still has it. And I think his production this year will go back up.
Yeah, no. Like you said, it's going to be a tough list regardless. So I like what you have so far. For me, 10 through 6, I'm actually going to start with the guy that you were just talking about in Khalil Mack. That's out of respect. Like you said, he had a little bit of a down year last year. He's in a fresh environment. He's going to be playing with the Chargers. He's going to be playing across from Joey Bosa. Obviously, that's going to take a lot of the attention. He should be able to get off in LA, and I'm putting him at 10 out of respect. There's so many good ones, man, and I was close to leaving him off my top 10, but I just knew better than that, honestly. Because as soon as I do that, like you said, he'll come out and have 15 sacks this year. So I'm not doubting. I'm not thinking that Khalil Mack's over the hill just yet. Number 9, I'm gonna go with the 24-year-old pass rusher out of Carolina, Brian Burns. I really like what he does out there off the edge. He had 9 sacks last year. Still young. He's still finding his place. And with that defense, I think he's going to turn into one of the more premier pass rushers in the NFL. At number 8, I have our guy, Hassan Reddick. You said bias. I don't think it's bias. I think we just got to take it for what it is right now. And when it comes down to these last few guys that I'm adding in on this list, think about the total production over the last year. He's talked about it with these Madden rankings coming out lately. And you mentioned it. He's up in the top 3 in the last 2 seasons as far as total sacks over the last 2 years. He finished with 8th in pass rush win percentage. So take that for what it is. So I have Hassan Reddick coming in here at number 8. It's time we give him some respect as one of the top pass rushers in the league, especially now that he's in Philly. That makes it easier for me. Number 7, I have Cameron Jordan. So I like what you did there. He's been in the league for a while, and he's probably a little bit more underappreciated compared to some of the other pass rushers. 12.5 sacks last year. Can't knock him off just yet. That Saints defense should be pretty good. Number 6, I have Joey Bosa from the Chargers. 10.5 sacks last year, 7 forced fumbles. We talked about Khalil Mack. They're going to benefit off each other. They're both going to eat. I'm interested to see who eats more off the other's attention that they're going to receive. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but I got Joey Bosa coming in at 6.
I thought I had him at 5, so I was going to piggyback right off, but I have him a slot ahead. So love 10 through 6. We agree with a bunch, but it'll be interesting to see where you have some of these other guys if they're not on there. Yeah. At number 5, again, the totals aren't there from last year, but I think this guy, he's always disruptive. He's always disruptive in the backfield, specifically last season. And this is more of a projection onto this year. Max Crosby. I love this dude. He had 8 sacks last year. And I think if he got to the quarterback a 10th of a second sooner, he'd have double-digit sacks last year. I don't know how many forced fumbles, but I remember a few off the top of my head. So I have Max Crosby at number 5. At number 4, I have Joey Bosa. This dude is an absolute monster when it comes to getting after the quarterback and being disruptive. Scotty, you mentioned he had 10.5 sacks last year. That was in 12 games and in 11 starts. Okay, the year before that, he had 12.5 sacks. The year before that, he had 5.5 sacks in 6 starts. And the year before that, he had 11.5. So the dude has 58 sacks in his young career. I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong way. He had 10.5 in a full season. He had 10.5 a couple years ago in 11 starts. I had the list backwards, but nonetheless, the dude's a monster. And he's the ultimate disruptor in the backfield. At number 3, I have his brother, who I just think is slightly better than him. That is Nick Bosa in San Fran. 15.5 sacks. Not much else to say. At number 2, this one's tough, 1 and 2, because I think number 2 is going to take even more of a step this year. At number 2, I have Myles Garrett, 16 sacks last year, coming off the edge in Cleveland. He is arguably the best defensive end in the league. And then at number 1, I know he's an end, but he's kind of a linebacker, but he's an edge rusher. The sack leader last year, TJ Watt, 22.5 sacks, always around the football. Kid is an absolute monster. I remember how good I used to think JJ Watt was a couple years ago. TJ Watt's better than JJ Watt ever was at this point of his career already. So I have TJ Watt at number 1.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I mean, ours, it doesn't differ too much in the top 5. I think there's just one that I had up a little bit higher than you. So number 5, I'm in agreement. I have Max Crosby as well. 8 sacks, 53 QB hurries last year. So as you mentioned, he was up at the top of the league as far as QB pressures. He just wasn't getting home. You add in Chandler Jones on the opposite side of him, who I would mark as one of my honorable mentions today. He's going to be able to get off. Yeah, I think he had Yannick Ngakoue on the opposite side of him last year. Chandler Jones is even better. So should be fun for Max Crosby. Plus, he is a Sixers guy, so I got to show some love to him.
Yeah.
He loves the Sixers. He loves himself some James Harden. Number 4, I got Nick Bosa. 23% win rate in the pass rush last year, which was 6th, 15.5 sacks, as you mentioned, 45 QB hurries. He's part of that San Francisco front 7 that we talked about that is just lethal. We can leave it at that. Number 3, and I think this is the one, this might surprise you how high I have him, but it is Micah Parsons coming in at number 3. He was just a freak, and it is disgusting for me to have to admit this because this man, he went to Penn State. He's in love with the fucking Cowboys, and he went exactly where he wanted to go ultimately. And of course, we got Devontae Smith, so no regrets. But nonetheless, it does pain me to see a Pennsylvania guy go and just love the hell out of Dallas, Texas, and the Cowboys, man. It hurts me, but he is a freak, and he's a heavy candidate. I think he'll be up there for Defensive Player of the Year if he continues on the trajectory that he showed in his rookie season. I may be drinking the Kool-Aid, maybe, but this guy is a freak. 13 sacks, 3 forced fumbles last year, and he was kind of figuring out his role the entire season. We saw him mixed up in pass coverage a couple times, and then finally they just let him attack the quarterback. Number 2, I have TJ Watt. You can move these two, put them in whatever order. I'm not going to argue with you.
I agree.
Those guys are monsters. TJ Watt, you talk about the 22.5 sacks, 5 forced fumbles. He was the Defensive Player of the Year, right? TJ Watt, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it may be even more fair to put him up at number 1. I think I put Myles Garrett just off of preference.
Right, yeah.
Myles Garrett, you talk about TJ Watt, I think, had a 24% win rate last year. Myles Garrett had a 28%, which was first. But only 16 sacks compared to the 20. You can flip-flop those guys either way you want to put them, but those are my top 2, TJ Watt and Myles Garrett, which it is tough, but I'll go with Myles Garrett into number 1. We'll see how that goes.
And you had Nick at number 4?
I had Nick Bosa at number 4, correct.
Okay, so just about the same top 10, a little bit different order.
I think
Chase Young. Yeah, no Chase Young for you. And
I may have forgotten about him. I didn't have him on my mind. He was injured last year, so I definitely would throw him on the honorable mentions. He would be in my 10 through 15 if we had a 10 through 15. Rashawn Gary, Chandler Jones, Von Miller, Robert Quinn. They might be on the downside. We don't know yet.
Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, we talked about him earlier, but this was tough. This was tough, especially when you talk about 6 through 10 because it's a toss-up.
Right. All right, man. That was fun. Those are our top 10 lists, so we'll get those graphicked up and put out onto DSM's social media and see if you guys agree or disagree. Let's get into the final portion of this show, and that is our NFC West all-team 2022 draft. Scotty has the first pick here. This draft will be a lot more fun than the AFC South draft was last week. But let's see where Scotty goes right here.
First pick, man. I am gonna go. Drum roll. I'm gonna go George Kittle here.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, the running back situation is really lacking in this division.
100%. 100%. Wow. Okay. This. I'm going to go Aaron Donald.
Yeah. Honestly, I was, he may have slipped my mind, man. I honestly thought that as I was going through, but I think I'm good with my next pick.
Yeah.
And I think it might save me face.
Who you got?
I got Eric Armstead.
Okay.
So he's not Aaron Donald. He's
That's
not
coming
Aaron
off the
Donald.
edge, right?
No, he is a defensive tackle.
Tackle. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
sorry.
listed as tackle. God, there's some good picks in this. Yeah, this is gonna be fun.
I know, man. God damn. I'm gonna go Nick Bosa. Coming off the edge.
Nick Bosa. Okay. Nick Bosa. I'm gonna go Fred Warner.
Damn it. Damn it.
I wasn't because I'm like Bobby Wagner's a good consolation prize, but Fred Warner's on a little bit different level.
That's where I was going, you ass. Oh.
Where are you going next?
All right. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll go Bobby here. I don't want to get blown out of the water in the linebacking group.
All right.
I'm
gonna go Jalen Ramsey. CB1, he's gotta be.
All right, let's see. Where do I want to go? This is tough, man.
It is because offense, I mean, the wide receivers you really don't have to pick early.
No. And my question is, I'm sticking defense. My question is, we'll go D Ford off the edge.
Okay.
I was thinking about paying homage, paying respect to JJ Watt, but I just don't think he's that anymore.
Gotcha. I'm gonna go Buda Baker.
Rolling in the secondary, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to address that line here soon, though.
Yeah, I'm going line again. I'm going Javon Kinlaw.
Fair enough. Nice.
All right.
Okay. So you got your defensive, or no? You got your defensive.
No, yeah. The line's done.
I need some defensive linemen as well, but I guess it's no rush at this point.
Right, exactly.
Let me see here. Who do I got? Let me go Isaiah Simmons, man.
All right.
Create that athletic linebacking core. Bunch of freaks out there.
I'm going to go Charvarius Ward.
I'm going to go Taylor Rapp at safety.
All right. I'm going to go Troy Hill.
Oh, wow. I just realized nobody took Jamal Adams.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Well, that'll be next.
Dude. Yeah. I missed out on that one, but I'm cool with mine. So you took Ward. Who else we got
Hill.
there? Byron Murphy, Marco Wilson, excuse me. Trey Brown. The corner's going to be scarce regardless. That other corner is going to be shaky. Let me, I guess, go. Let me go Cooper Kupp, man. That's my guy. I don't know. I would love, any of these receivers in this division, man. But Cooper Kupp is that guy.
I'm going to follow you up with wide receiver, and I'm going to go D-Hop.
Oh, man. And now it's like a preference because it's like
I know. Don't take him. Don't take him.
I feel like I'm not gonna take your guy, but I want it to be your guy. I'm gonna go Deebo Samuel.
Damn it!
I was thinking maybe you were thinking DK. I was thinking maybe.
No, that's my consolation now.
May as well take the better quarterback.
I know. It was quarterback or running back, but I want to go with Staff.
Because, like, while obviously I'll be happy to take Kyler, but
yeah, I know.
I think Stafford's considerably better right now. Let me go ahead and start getting some of my defensive guys. Let me go ahead and grab JJ Watt. Did you already take him? Sorry.
No. Okay. I was going to. I want to take Elijah Mitchell.
Nice. So I need another edge rusher, I think, and another defensive tackle.
Yeah.
And another corner.
Mm-hmm.
So edge. Let's see here.
This is where the draft gets sped up because there's no strategy anymore. Like,
right.
The positions I need, you're filled up. The positions you need, I'm filled up. So there's no, let me get him before he takes him. And
exactly. I'm gonna go ahead and get. I'm gonna get. Do you have Shelby Harris?
I do not.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take Shelby Harris, defensive tackle.
All right. I'm gonna take Jamal Adams.
Nice. Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with Jamal Adams. I feel like it's almost to the point where he's getting slept on now.
I know. But he's just in such a bad situation, dude. And he's not the greatest cover corner. So it's like
a lot of the times he be looking silly out there in pass coverage just because everybody else is so bad around him.
Cover safety, I didn't mean cover corner.
I did not know that Kerry Hyder went to the 49ers from the Seahawks. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Kerry Hyder as my edge. That's crazy. So I'm wondering, man, and people might clown us. So they've got Aaron Donald listed as a defensive end on ESPN.
Do they?
They do.
Do they really?
They do. And I don't know. Just for clarity, guys, we did not include Aaron Donald in edge rushers. Otherwise, he'd probably be up there with Myles Garrett. And, as far as pass rushers, we did.
Yeah. When did they change to a 3-4? They weren't always a 3-4. Were they? No, because no. There's no way. Because when they had Sue there, him and Sue were inside.
Yeah.
I know he flip-flops, but I just don't see him as I always saw him as a defensive tackle.
He looks, he looks like a nose tackle. I mean, I get, like you said, they move him around, but nonetheless, disclaimer, that's why Aaron Donald isn't on there.
Right. I'm going DK.
All right. So I just need another corner. For now, I'll take Kyler Murray. I'll just get him off the way.
All right. Do I like now? This part's interesting. I'm going to go Zach Ertz.
That's probably where I would have went.
I like the upside with Noah Fant, but.
And then for my other corner, I'm going to go Byron Murphy Jr. from the Cardinals.
All right, I'm going to go Quandre Diggs.
And then
you have running back.
I'm going Cam Akers.
All right, and my linebacker, I haven't even thought about this. Who the hell do I want? Drake Greenlaw, Leonard Floyd. Ooh. I'll go Leonard Floyd. I'll go Floyd. God damn it! I got the cover corner and the run stopper and Wagner. Not the cover corner. Oh, geez, I keep saying cover corner. I got the coverage guy a little bit in Wagner in the zone. And the run stopper. Floyd can come off the edge for me. All right.
Yeah, I mean, both of these things are just stacked, bro.
Well, let's do this. Let's take a side by side of our teams in this division and a side by side of our teams in the AFC South, and just have a conversation, because the talent disparity is something else.
My goodness. Because I'm just looking at, and like your linebackers too. I'm just looking at my linebackers. I'm just like, these are athletic freaks. The defensive line. I mean, your defensive line is definitely better than mine. But
it's tough, man.
It is. Really That's wild, man.
So those are our 2022
I like this division.
NFC West all division teams. So we'll get those posted to you guys on social media after this episode airs as well. Scotty,
beautiful.
Anything else? An hour and 16. What a shocking surprise.
Woo. Yeah, and that's why, guys, we were not doing any lists next week with the AFC West, because it's gonna take enough time as is.
That might take 2 hours.
That old division, man. But finally some good stuff. And as we get down the stretch here, we got the AFC West, we got the AFC East, and then the NFC East to wrap everything up. And they should be, 3 more very fun divisions. I think we've gotten all the boring ones out of the way so far. Even the AFC East will be interesting. We can talk about the Bills, the Patriots, the Dolphins.
The Dolphins are going to be fun too.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill. So that's exciting, and I'm just looking forward as we get closer. Week by week, we're dwindling it down, getting closer to the actual NFL season. So,
well, that's the biggest thing. I mean, a couple teams have had rookies report already. So, as of this day, we're about 5 days away, from when everyone reports, a little less probably, 4 or 5 days. So, this is where things get fun. The first couple of days of camp are always fun. Then, you give it 10 days and the first preseason games here just about. Yep. So,
it moves quick.
Yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun. By the time we know it, it'll be September 8th or 9th, whenever that Thursday night game is. And we'll be right back to our regularly scheduled Thursday nights at 7 and Sundays at 10, man. So I'm looking forward to this season. A lot of high expectations, and it'll be fun. Everybody, thank you guys so much for watching, whether you watch it live when it comes out or whether you catch it after, whether you catch the replay of the replay. Thank you. Don't forget, check out DSM Media on Twitter at DSM_media. Click the link tree in our bio. You can find our YouTube page a little easier that way. Like this video, hit that subscribe button. We already reached 600 subscribers. On the road to 700 begins now. Thank you.